King Council, staff, and visitors, thank you for joining us for the July 2nd, 2026 regular meeting of the Fair Oaks Ranch City Council. The time is 6:30 p.m. and we'll begin with the roll call. When I call your name, please say here or present. Mayor Maxton.
Here.
Councilmember Stroop. Here. Councilmember Roden.
Here.
Councilmember Olvera.
Here.
Councilmember Pearson. Here. Councilmember Parker.
Present.
And Councilmember Swearick. With all members present, a quorum is declared.
Thank you, Amanda. Would everybody please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all. Thank you. I'd like to welcome everybody that's joining us here as part of the council meeting. A reminder to all that we do live broadcast our meeting, and would like to welcome all those who are joining us by live broadcast. As part of the meeting tonight, for those that are here in the council chambers, I'd ask that all comments be made as part of the meeting if you would use the microphone at the podium up here. And the reason for that is the individuals that are watching by live broadcast cannot hear the comments if they're made from your seat. If you do get an opportunity to speak, I'd ask that you introduce yourself. If you're a resident, please state if you're a resident of Fair Oaks Ranch or not. And if you're with an organization that's here as part of the council meeting, what organization that you are from. For citizens to be heard, we didn't have anybody sign up for citizens to be heard tonight. Is there anybody here that didn't get an opportunity to sign up that would like to speak? And with that, we'll move on to our consent agenda tonight. We only have one item on the consent agenda, which is approval of the June 18th, 2026 regular city council meeting minutes. Is there any council member that would like to remove this to consideration? With that then, could I get a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
Keith, and a second? Scott? All in favor of approval of the consent agenda, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? The consent agenda is approved. And with that, we'll move on to our consideration items. We have two consideration items on the agenda tonight. The first one is consideration and possible action approving a resolution authorizing the execution of an agreement with D&D Contractors Incorporated for Dietz Elkhorn Road reconstruction and waterline replacement project, including consideration of alternative intersection design options, the expenditure of required funds, and execution of all applicable documents by the city manager. And Grant, you're going to walk us through the intro on this?
Yes, I will, Mayor. Thank you very much. Good evening, Council. I'm Grant Watanabe, Public Works Director. And tonight, Clayton and I will be presenting a resolution authorizing the execution of a construction agreement with D&D Contractors for the Dietz Elkhorn Road East reconstruction and waterline project. For reference, this agenda item starts on page 6, and the presentation starts on page 27 of the agenda packet. So tonight's agenda includes a project overview, a review of the construction schedule and phasing, as well as traffic control plan, a look at the Chartwell and Sattersong intersection improvement that's included in the current plan, as well as an alternative. Clayton will cover the procurement results. I'll provide some additional traffic control measures to consider for the Chartwell and Sattersong intersection, and then we'll wrap up with next steps and questions. So the project scope includes full depth reconstruction of Dietz Elkhorn between Fair Oaks Parkway and Ralph Fair Road, drainage improvements, utility and driveway adjustments. No right-of-way acquisition was necessary, as all the proposed improvements are being done within the existing right-of-way. The road reconstruction project was also joint bid with the Dietz Elkhorn water line project, which will install a 12-inch main under the north shoulder of Dietz Elkhorn Road from the Elmo Davis water plant to the Corley track, which lies to the east of Ralph Fair Road. And you can kind of see the blue line on the graphic below kind of indicates the location at that water line. So the existing length of Dietz Elkhorn East is approximately 1.2 miles. It's 28 to 29 feet wide, which includes two 11-foot lanes, one 5-foot paved shoulder on the north side, and a 1 to 2 foot paved shoulder on the south side. This project will widen Dietz Elkhorn to consist of two 11-foot lanes, a 5-foot paved shoulder on the north side, and a 5-foot paved shoulder on the south side. Now, please note that there may be short stretches where the shoulder has to be reduced down to 3 feet, but it will widen back up to 5 feet, particularly where we have culvert crossings or topography, which makes widening of the road a little difficult. The existing bar dishes will largely remain. All culverts will be replaced, and the project area will be regraded to promote drainage. In addition, driveway and mailbox adjustments will be made where necessary to accommodate the widening of the road. So looking at the construction schedule and phasing, the total duration is 365 calendar days from notice to proceed. The project consists of 3 phases. The first phase is from Preakness Lane to Ralph Fair Road. The second phase is from Windermere Drive to Preakness Lane. And the third phase is Fair Oaks Parkway to Windermere Drive. Each phase is expected to take about 4 months to complete. Now in the next few slides, I'm going to be going over the traffic control plan for each phase, but there are a few key points that are applicable to all phases. First, an eastbound lane will be maintained at all times while the other lane is under construction. And this is being done because the attendance zone for Fair Oaks Ranch Elementary School largely lies to the west of the school, and we want to make sure that parents are least impacted when driving towards the elementary school for student drop-off and pickup. Second, all westbound lane traffic will be detoured around the construction area using some of the nearby neighborhood streets. Third, some intersections within each phase will be closed if alternate routes are available, and this is to minimize the number of potential conflicts between construction equipment and vehicles trying to transit through the construction site. And then fourth, all residents on Dietz Elkhorn Road and dead-end streets connecting to Dietz Elkhorn Road will have access at all times. All right, so during phase one, again, one eastbound lane between Preakness and Ralph Fair Road will remain open while the other lane is under construction. Westbound traffic will be detoured around the construction area using Ralph Fair Road, Fair Oaks Parkway, and Nola Yase, as shown in the detour map to the top right. When intersections at Preakness Lane and Saddle Song are closed, vehicles will need to use one of the other detour routes shown on one of the other maps here. All detour routes involve residential streets, so there will be increased traffic on these streets. However, these streets were selected since they are the shortest distances to get from point A to point B. During phase two, one eastbound lane will be available at all times between Windermere Drive and Preakness Lane, while the other lane is under construction. Westbound traffic will be detoured around the construction area using Preakness Lane, Secretariat, Dapper Dan, and Cloudcroft Lane, as shown in the top map. That one there. Again, when intersections at Windermere Drive or Nola Yase are closed, vehicles will need to use one of the other detour maps shown toward the bottom. During phase three, one eastbound lane between the Parkway and Windermere Drive will remain open while the other lane is under construction, and westbound traffic will be detoured around the construction area using Windermere Drive and Fair Oaks Parkway, as shown to the map to the right. At this point, I'll pause for any questions. As we transition from one phase to the other, the detour routes will change, so it will be important that we put out advance notice through all means available to all residents, and that we also make sure that the signage is in place for the following phase when we make that transition.
So Grant, are we breaking this into 3 segments, basically? We're going to start here at Ralph Fair Road, and then that's phase 1, phase 2 is sort of the middle section, and then phase 3 towards Ralph Fair, towards the Parkway.
Towards the Parkway.
And about how long would each phase last? Are you gonna get to that?
Approximately 4 months per phase.
So 4 months. Okay. So each section, so it's a year.
Yes, that's correct.
Is there a way to communicate or persuade heavier vehicles to use different route that doesn't go through residential area? Like commercial vehicles, delivery trucks, things that are not your standard personal automobile. I don't know if there's even I didn't know that was an option, but I was just curious.
I guess that it is possible, but it would make the detour routes a little bit more complicated. Now you have 2 sets of signs, one for larger vehicles and one for regular passenger vehicles.
So I mentioned this to Scott a couple of months ago when we were talking about it, but as we're doing these detour routes and as they're changing, I'd like to see our mobile speed radar sign out along the straighter stretches of these detours, just to, knows the speed limit, they see it. Maybe they're not used to taking this road to get to school or what have you, but just as a reminder.
I think Ruben made a good point. I mean, you certainly can't stop Amazon, FedEx, and those guys, or H-E-B delivery, but an 18-wheeler carrying construction equipment, maybe to a house or something, I don't know how we could maybe address that, if that's even possible, to keep them off these detour routes, because those are going to be residential neighborhoods. And even like Windermere, you start dragging an 18-wheeler around those neighborhoods, that's going to be difficult. Is there some way we can look at maybe categorizing it into, I don't know, I'm just asking the question, like Ruben made me think
It's
about it.
definitely something that we can explore.
Oh,
No through traffic? Or, aren't there signs similar somewhere in the city, like no heavy vehicles or no through traffic? I don't know. But it's just, a thought.
they don't pay attention to them even though
Yeah,
they're up there half
that's true.
the time. So, but maybe when that's happening, we have some way to be enforcing it or watching it closer. I don't know. It's a question.
And we'll look into it. All right, moving on. So this slide shows the existing Chartwell Lane Saddlesong intersection to the left and the proposed configuration to the right, which is currently included in the construction plans. The key difference here is that the addition of a dedicated left turn lane in both directions. This was recommended by the Transportation Safety Advisory Committee to reduce congestion and backups at this intersection. I know at the last city council meeting, some concerns were raised that although this may improve traffic flow on Dietz Elkhorn, that it may make it more difficult for vehicles exiting Chartwell and making a left turn lane on Dietz Elkhorn.
On that last slide, I think it makes sense to have the dedicated left turn coming from Ralph Fair to Hartwell, because a lot of the cars need to turn into the elementary school. But going the other way, I think that may cause a big problem, because you get a lot of cars that are, waiting to turn to go into the elementary school in the morning on Dietz. It backs up onto Dietz. And there's hardly anybody that's gonna turn to go left onto Saddlesong. And so you're gonna end up having so many more cars, because the cars that are just gonna go straight to Ralph Fair now can't just go straight to Ralph Fair. They've gotta wait in that line for everybody turning right into the school, if the other lane is gonna be left-hand turn only. That makes sense?
I think I understand. Let me see if I can recap. So you're saying that because of the numbers that are that are headed eastbound on Dietz, trying to make a right turn onto Chartwell Lane, that there's so many vehicles that that may still block through traffic or on
It's definitely
on Dietz
going to.
Elkhorn. It's
So I
definitely
mean,
going to.
right
So-
now, it does, but they can they have that slight little right turn so that the other people can go straight. Now, if you're taking that straight lane out,
It's still there.
it will still be there? Okay. That would be my,
Yeah,
that was my only
traveling
concern.
eastbound, I see that there are 4 lanes when you come to the intersection. Coming from the Parkway towards Ralph Fair, there are 4 lanes.
I think you got
One
the
is a
map
right
flipped.
turn only, one is straight, one is left turn, and
You'd
then
be
one.
adding a lane, essentially.
Yes.
Okay,
And Emily,
great.
you may have been absent the last meeting, but what I had brought up was during school drop-off, if you're on Chartwell intending to turn westbound onto Dietz Elkhorn, the only way that cars that are stopped there have a break to go is because traffic kind of queues and backs up on both sides because there's
Right.
not a dedicated left turn lane. And so with those eliminated and you have through traffic going east and westbound, my fear is it's going to back up the parent line to get out of the elementary school.
I agree with
And
you
I think
on that.
it's going to be discussed as potential
We
options.
do have some options later in the presentation.
Yeah. Maybe like-
Okay. But before I get to those options, I'm going to turn it over to Clayton to go over the procurement results.
Well, so really, I think we were looking for a decision on the layout of the intersection. Is that,
You will. You'll have 2 options at the end of the presentation that over with you. Essentially, what we will be asking the council at the end is to recommend approving the bid. Clayton's about to go through with
okay,
essentially either that option or to go back to the current
I
configuration.
just jumped ahead, sorry.
Good evening. I'm Clayton Holscher, Procurement Manager for the city. As Grant alluded to, we have our procurement results, and I'm going to handle that slide for us. For this project, we issued a request for proposals back in May, on May 21st, and we had those due in the middle of June on the 16th. And as a result, we received 6 proposals, and we evaluated those based on price, the company experience to include their subcontractors, and their proposed plan. You see here, there's the list of the results. We had 5 of those 6 bidders coming in under our budget, with our lowest being D&D Contractors. Our evaluation team met, and we did select D&D Contractors as not only the lowest price, but also the one that provided the best value for our city. We've spoken with references. They've done a lot of work on both the roadway side and the utility side. They've done work for Chavano Park, New Braunfels, Seguin. They've been in business for over 25 years, have offices over in Cibolo and Marion. So we feel really good about the quality that they can bring to us. And those are the results and ultimately our recommendation. If you have any questions, I'm happy to answer any procurement-related questions. If not, I'll kick it back over to Grant for everything else.
Hey, Clayton, who have we used in the past on this list?
We've used Easy Bell Construction before. That's the only one. They did the Tivoli drainage project for us.
Are these guys all local, like within the state of Texas? Are they out of state? Where are they?
Oh, they're all local, yeah. And we use our, so in addition to posting notice on our city website, we utilize Civcast, which is an electronic bidding website that we use, and it has high visibility for the construction contractors in the Bexar County, San Antonio area. So, yeah, these are some close-by companies.
Just one more question. D&D, our pick, has Bernie or Bexar County or Kendall County or anybody around us used them before?
Chavano Park had about a $5 million project. I spoke with them that they completed for them, a roadway reconstruction project. They've done work on the development side, the private sector side, as well as the public sector. They've done work for City of New Braunfels, City of Seguin. They demonstrated a lot of relevant work for municipalities as well in their proposal.
They finished on time?
Yes,
And under
references
budget?
checked out, everything, came back positive
Okay.
on that.
How many of these bids came in electronically?
All of them.
And did D&D, have they ever bidded a job with us before?
No, they haven't. But
Seems like we're capturing more people.
correct, yes. I think, moving towards the electronic bidding is definitely helping with our visibility, and it gives us a greater opportunity to receive more favorable pricing. Any other questions?
All right, so getting back to the Chartwell and Sanderson intersection, it really comes down to two options. The first option is to proceed with the bid as designed with the dedicated left turn lanes. This is what our contractors bid on, and it does involve separation of turning and through traffic. The other option is to remove the dedicated left turn lanes and revert back to our current existing configuration. This would reduce the cost of the project by about $3,400, and it would maintain the current existing intersection design. Now, there are some additional traffic control measures that could be applied to either option to make it easier for vehicles to exit Chartwell, and I'll cover those in the next slides. So one of the options mentioned at the last council meeting was to install a flashing red light that kind of acts like a stop sign, but only turns on during school hours or school drop-off and pickup hours and is off for the rest of the time. So the use of a flashing beacon is addressed in the Texas Manual of Uniform Traffic Control Devices, specifically in sections 4S.02 and 4S.05. But in both of these sections, it states that the flashing beacon or flashing red signal can only be used to supplement a stop sign, either a stop sign, wrong way sign, or a do not enter sign. So the key takeaway here is that it cannot be operated only during school hours, and these beacon lights cannot be used without a permanent stop sign.
So this option you'd have to make it a four-way stop for this option
That's
at all
correct.
times.
That's correct, and they have to be flashing at all times.
So I was talking to Scott about this, and I know of two that are in San Antonio that stop when flashing. I think they may be pedestrian crossings, so there may be like a pedestrian element that might come into play. I don't know if we looked into that in the last couple days.
In the past, we have. They have big, I forget what they're called, Hawks or something, or Hawk systems. But they have to be pedestrian activated, and it'll flash a series of yellow and red lights at the top to notify vehicles to stop. But that requires someone to activate the light.
I've seen, and maybe it's limited to fire departments, but where you'll have like a flashing yellow, and then if they're activated with sirens, it'll start flashing red so they can get out. I think they had it at Ralph Fair. They used to have it at Ralph Fair Road, but I don't know if that would apply to this. But
I think that's a specific situation for
Yeah.
emergency vehicles.
Okay.
Yeah.
There's no way we can like back into one from some. I mean, it would really work great if we could just have a stop sign there for an hour a day and then
For
not
9
mess with
months.
traffic.
Put a
Yeah.
pedestrian one there and have someone just
That's what I said. So just have the crossing guard just smashing it the entire time. Okay, well, we tried
So I
that.
think the bottom line from this is that it's either a four-way stop or not, and that's 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And really, you don't need the flashing signals on it because it would just be a four-way stop.
put a traffic light there. Program it. For like how long you want. I'm just throwing it out there, but.
Yeah,
I'll-
maybe. I don't know. I don't know the economics on those. but- First
High
traffic
six
light.
figures. High six figures if you're talking a signal. It's an option.
All right, so there are some additional traffic control measures, and Mary, you kind of inferred to one, but one is to install additional stop signs to create a four-way stop. This can be done with or without those intersection beacon lights. It would enable traffic to flow freely in and out of Chartwell Lane during school hours. It would support pedestrian and bicyclist safety. It would mirror the intersection improvements made during our nearby Van Raab Elementary School, and it would also act as a traffic control or calming device where speeding is a known issue. Another option is to reduce the school speed zone limit from 20 miles per hour to 15 miles per hour. This has no cost impact, and reducing the speed on Dietz Alcorn may make it a little easier for traffic on Chartwell to exit. This would also support pedestrian and bicyclist safety. All right. So when it comes to staff recommendations, staff recommends award of the construction contract to D&D contractors and to proceed with the bid design, including the dedicated left turn lanes. And while staff would like you to consider a four-way stop with or without the intersection beacon lights, this decision doesn't necessarily have to be made now. It could be made later in the project or even after the project is completed.
Is everybody okay with the D&D contractors?
Yeah.
I do have one more question on that intersection. So going westbound, no, I'm sorry, going eastbound, the left-hand turn lane that turns north, how long is that?
Sir, would you mind?
Yeah. I'm sorry, this is Howell Mesa. He's from Pape Dawson Engineers. He's the designer of record.
Yep. Good evening, everybody. I'm not too sure of the exact length, but it does provide lengths for cars to be banking for the left turn.
About how many cars?
I want to say 3 or 4, if I remember correctly.
So I'm just, I kind of mentioned this the last time when Ruben brought it up, but if both of those lanes, instead of having a left turn lane that turns north, if you had 2 lanes going west, then that would keep traffic coming from Ralph Fair on the north side of the road, and then still have a free lane for cars coming off Chartwell going west to get in, and then merge them together if it's far enough down. Like you would, I mean, it's risky getting out of that school as it is. It'd still be kind of risky, but I think. And I don't think a whole lot of cars are going to be turning into. They're not going to be in that turn lane anyway. I don't know what the traffic count is that goes north. High peak hours, but.
I know with reducing the speed limit in that area during school zone hours, I mean, it should improve the intersection. I wouldn't know what the traffic count going north would be. I don't know if the city has done like a traffic count or a traffic study at that intersection.
We have. It's a few years ago, a traffic study was done, but I'm just trying to understand your suggestion.
Yeah, so if you pull the slide up, I can.
Sure.
So and this is turned around, right? So north is down?
No.
Oh, north is up, okay, yeah. So the lane that's turning north from going towards Ralph Fair, right, on the left side of the map. You had 2 lanes going west instead, where straight traffic from Ralph Fair would come straight across in the north, the furthest north lane, and then the south lane that still goes west. Somebody from Chartwell would be able to get out into that because presumably the traffic from Ralph Fair is out of the way. They're not in that lane, right? So you'd be able to get out there, and if they merge together, you put the 2 lanes back together.
I think I understand. To create, instead of a eastbound left turn lane, make that a westbound merge
Right lane.
lane
Yeah.
into the through lane.
Well, the north lane would be the merge lane, and yeah, it would, because that's right. Well, it depends on how you line it up.
It's almost like to do that, you're still pulling out into traffic.
You are still doing it. I mean, like I say, it's still risky, but it's not as risky as what it's going to be. Otherwise, we could like put the speed limit at 10 miles an hour and, tractor ourselves around right there.
I don't even know if speed's an issue, because for the 1 hour a day, the 30 minutes in the morning, 30 minutes in the afternoon for 9 months of the year, to me, it's just volume. Traffic will back up at that intersection all the way to the light at Dietz, and it'll back up pretty much sometimes all the way to Preakness going the other direction. And so having everyone go slower is not gonna reduce the number of vehicles trying to get into the school all within a 20-minute window.
Would it make sense so, I mean, I think eventually you're gonna have a four-way stop here. It kind of seems like that's where it's headed. But could you make the right-hand turn lane from Dietz onto Chartwell going towards the school, could you make that a yield? So that way the cars don't have to actually stop at that intersection. They can continue to flow into the school. And then those coming out of the school going to Ralph Fair have a yield. So they're not having to stop at the four-way intersection. And obviously they have to stop for oncoming traffic, but it would just allow those to flow a little easier to keep the traffic moving in and out of the school. But also, if you have the four-way stop, it's going to allow the other cars to get out easier. I mean, people are concerned about this slowing things down. I think it might actually speed things up. I mean, I've sat at that intersection for 5, 6, 7 minutes at a time waiting to get out.
Now that I think of it, I think that we have a lot of courteous drivers, and so I've had it where I'm approaching the school eastbound, and everyone's, like, there's people on to the north that are stopped at that stop sign, there's people on Chartwell that are stopped, and there's people that backed up both sides of Dietz, and I'll let people through. Even though I have it
Right.
right away, I'll stop and I'll wave them through, and I think a
Yeah.
lot of people will start doing that. So in effect, people are almost treating it
Doing
like
it anyway.
almost treating it like a four-way stop.
And then for the times that there's no traffic there, I mean, you're adding, 5 seconds to your travel time. I mean,
When it's initially being introduced to drivers, maybe an idea to put out, a sign along the lines of blinkers not optional. There's a lot of turning going on there, and initially when it first starts up, I think we're gonna see it.
So one thing we haven't, it's not part of this, I know it's not part of the construction plan, but another solution to that intersection is during those hours, we have an officer out there directing traffic, and then you do not impact traffic the other 95% of the day and year, because a stop sign there full-time is going to create an incredible traffic issue going east and west, especially coming off Ralph Fair Road.
Is it a traffic issue at Van Rob? Because they'd have it.
I think we should consider that too.
Only during school times. So let's,
Anyway,
we
just
got
throwing
a
that
couple
out.
decisions. So the next decision is the layout of the intersection. And so, including the left turn lanes, which is depicted here, or is everybody considering the removal of the left turn lanes?
You need the left turn lanes.
Okay,
I'm okay with a left turn lane only if there is a solution to address the school traffic for 9 months a year. Otherwise, it's going to be a mess during those hours.
It really is, and I get the wait and see approach, and let's just do it. And if we were able to move like in a month, like we start getting complaints, and then a month later it's fixed, then I'd be like, all right, yeah, let's wait and see. But I mean, once the complaints start coming in, if they go through TSAC or however we're going to be like 8 months out before we finally have something in place. If there's any way to figure this out before we start painting the road, it would be nice. But there's definitely, I still agree with Ruben. There's absolutely going to be a line coming out of Chartwell like it is, unless you just get,
and a
The
line
Good
going
Samaritans.
into Chartwell too.
well, there's always going to be a line going into Chartwell.
Well, unless you have an officer like they're suggesting.
Okay, we kind of got away from, what I was trying to get to is, are we agreeing with the left turn lanes?
yes.
Well, but that's our problem. though,
Contingent
is
upon,
Well,
I
mean,
would
there-
agree to
there
it
is
if
a-
there's another solution.
Right, there is an issue at the intersection now without the left turn lanes. I mean, really what you have traveling westbound is depicted here is what we have out there right now. The only difference is The middle lane is left turn and through lane, and the northern lane is a right turn only lane. And I think that's what Ruben brought up, is you're gonna have through traffic going through the intersection now. My recommendation on it would be that we continue with the left turn lane. My belief is, let's get the intersection put in, and let's see what the traffic flow is once all this is complete. And the possibility, I mean, we could even put temporary stop signs up just to observe what the traffic flow would be with temporary stop signs in place. I don't think they'd be enforceable, but at least it would set the tone so we could see what the impact is. But my belief is you're not really gonna know until the intersection is established as it is here.
Isn't this merely striping that whole section? It's not changing the width of the road? It's not changing any of the construction?
For the
correct?
for the most part, that's correct. I was
Okay.
gonna addendum to the mayor, like, this configuration is slightly wider.
Okay.
So if you went back to the 3 lanes, you'd save a little bit, and that's what the option 2 change order was for. But I think this gives you the most flexibility,
Okay.
to the mayor's points. But so if at some point we decide we wanted to restripe it back to 3 lanes, you can do that. It'd be easier to go down than to go up.
Right, okay.
I mean, we could, if it's what y'all want to do, we could make the decision today to make it a 4-way stop, but it's still a year from now until that 4-way stop's going to go in. My personal belief is that, you know, let's wait. Let's see what the traffic flow is during that time frame. There could be more to it than what we're observing right now with new traffic patterns in there. Let's see what the traffic patterns are, and then we can make a decision based on what the traffic analysis is.
So would it be the recommendation to put temporary stop signs immediately, or see what it does as is and then figure it out after that?
That would be my recommendation. Let's see what the flow is without any measures. If we see that, and I'm saying after construction is complete,
Yeah.
so that you're talking about,
Next summer, or end of next summer.
well, it could actually be quicker than that because this phase will be done.
Oh, right.
I would say if we're gonna have it no temporary stop signs from day one and school's in session, I would alert the department and parents might need help getting out of there. We already do without the through lanes. So, I don't know.
Traffic coming south on Saddle Song, a lot of it's golf carts in the morning. And school's out too, and so that's quite a distance to shoot across with about, 4 other lanes?
See, what they do is they go west, and then they go south into city campus, and then they come through that intersection on Chartwell.
Again,
I see what you're saying. Let's get the wider footprint, and then if we want to decide to not make it this configuration, we can still do that. But if we decide not to have the wider footprint, we have what we have. Right? I'd be okay with the wider footprint. I'm just gonna put it out there that I don't know that adding a left turn lane going from west to east to go onto Saddle Song, I don't think that adds any benefit to the traffic, because,
the reason it was put in is to line up the through traffic lanes.
right,
Correct. It was not for traffic flow, it was to align the through lanes.
okay.
And I get that, like, this, I know what you guys are wanting from this workshop, right? Like, it's just answer this question, how wide do you want it? But I kind of feel like it is a good time to have the rest of the conversation, because I don't know when the next.
This is not a workshop, this is a decision.
Right, yeah,
They're asking for us to make a decision tonight on this.
Well, can we make a decision here with a workshop later on the intersection?
On the traffic control measures, we can. But they need a decision tonight on D&D.
Right.
And the.
That much I got.
Layout of the intersection, so that they go forth with the contract.
So we're still in budget reason, right? Can we, because I have the same concern that Ruben and Jonathan have, because we see it every day when we take our kids to school. Can we work it into the budget somehow to see what it would be to have a dedicated officer there in the mornings and in the afternoons if we approve this today? Because I really, I really think we need that. And,
Like
and,
that,
and the
especially
schools grow, the
starting out
school's
with one
growing.
there. At least starting out with an officer.
I don't want to answer this question though without having some kind of safeguard in place, because I don't think this configuration helps the school traffic. I don't think it does. And so if we're gonna, I think it could potentially create more risk for the school traffic. And so that's my thing is, I like it in general, and I like knowing that we could kind of change the configuration if we want to. So generally speaking, I would be in favor of this, but I just think we have to have some sort of agreement or decision that we are going to work in something else for school traffic hours, because I don't think this is gonna help that.
So what is it that you want to do tonight?
I would say, can we approve this conditional on approving a dedicated officer?
Well, we can always bring it back to council to talk about traffic control measures to be conducted. So it doesn't even have to be conditional. We just say that that's something I want on the agenda at a future time.
Yeah, that's what I was saying earlier. I'd be totally fine with that, approving it as is, because at least then we have the width, right? And if we figure out stop signs or whatever, and that gets us past this point.
Right. But are
Guaranteeing
we
that
all
we're gonna
on
talk
the
about it
same
again.
page for that though? Because if I approve this tonight and then I come back and I'm the only vote for an officer, I don't want to vote in favor of this. You know what I mean?
I would like to hear your argument on it, officer, but I don't think tonight is the time for it. I think that would be during the workshop on the intersection, right?
Right, it's a catch-22. If I approve this because I think we're going to get an officer in place, which is what I think we need for me to vote for this, then I can't vote for it.
And so if an officer was not going to be put in place, what would you want to see as part of the intersection?
Four-way stop,
Yeah.
probably. Yeah. I think that's our only two options.
But four-way stop in this configuration, or,
Yes.
Yeah, I think so.
so you're okay with this configuration?
I'm okay with this
Yes.
configuration, assuming there's some sort of traffic control put in place.
So
But
what I
if we
would-
come back, if we
This
say yes to
configuration
this,
doesn't limit
how do I
any
know
of
we're
your
gonna say yes
options.
to that?
So the decision we
Say
made,
again?
it's imperative that we begin that we approve the construction contract so we can begin construction.
Right.
Right, and I understand that, but I can't approve this if it's, okay, Emily's gonna vote in favor of this, and we'll talk about traffic control later. We all know where she stands on this, and we'll get you something. Okay, great, I vote to approve it. Then we come back, and we're like, okay, now we're here talking about traffic control, and everyone's like, no, we're not gonna do it. Then I've just been suckered into approving something that I don't want to approve because I don't think it's worth it.
Vote no. And you could place it on the
That's what
future
I'm
agenda.
saying.
Again, I think the advantage of this option is it doesn't limit your options. You can do 3 lanes, you can do 4 lanes, you can do a 4-way stop or not, you can have an officer or not. You have any of those options potentially with this configuration. With the current or old configuration, you have 3 lanes, you're limited to what's there right now, which is okay, but that's the decision point that we have right now.
Well-
And I think this gives the council more options to choose from that we'll have, Samir said,
I think the,
wants to go through.
I think the layout is definitely better and safer for the eastbound and westbound traffic, for the majority of the year. Why don't can we, at the end of this meeting, put on the agenda a workshop for traffic control measures?
That would be the idea. I mean, to your point, Scott, this sets the width, it sets the most options. So I see the concern. I have the same concern, but we need to address that separately than getting a contract for of the road. Because, like you say, if we start making that decision tonight, it changes. If we decide not to do certain things, we don't have the option if we don't keep the width as it is, so. But I think we should put it on the agenda as a workshop, sure.
Is the width aligned now? I mean, isn't that what we spent all the money on to redo this intersection, was to align it?
That was going this direction. That was going across to Saddle Song. It wasn't.
It was an increase in $3,400, $3,100 to add the additional width on the westbound side of this intersection.
That's the dollar amount. It was what, a 3 to 5 foot variance? I don't recall exactly.
It was in here somewhere.
No, I understand that. I meant when we read it, is it not aligned right now as it is, Chartwell and Dietz? Like, is that intersection, what's the problem with it right now?
We're redoing the road.
No, I know we're redoing the road, but with the way it's configured right now, what's the problem with it? That's my question.
Dietz is going to be wider because we're adding that extra shoulder.
It's still,
But that's not,
Same
that
number of
doesn't create,
lanes.
that, like, what is the problem with the intersection right now?
I believe when they designed it, what they came up with is, with school traffic, you get a backup coming off of Ralph Fair and trying to left turn onto Chartwell. And they added a through lane. The through lane is now to the north of that. The left turn lane and through lane are the same lane right now. They separate it so that traffic can continue to flow through it while cars are backed up, waiting to make the left turn into school. That's really the only problem that was identified. Is that fairly accurate, right?
That's fairly accurate, Mayor.
So
So
is
you
it, and I'm just putting this out there because I don't, with the way it's configured now, we could still make that left lane coming from Ralph Fair towards the school. We could make that a turn left only, and then the one that's turn right only, we could make it straight or right.
I think it goes into the shoulder though.
That's what it is. That's what's being,
Right.
So we're not adding a lane there.
not on the eastbound side of the intersection, no.
Okay, so I go back to my original question then, what's the problem with the way with the footprint of it right now?
I think what you're saying is that the traffic going west stops when anybody's turning left currently. And by adding this lane, it allows the people going to the school to make the turn where the westbound traffic can continue on. That's the problem. It backs up traffic
And
back towards Ralph Fair Road.
And what I brought up is that backup allows people leaving the school to take that left turn because
Right.
those cars are stopped. Now with the through lane, we're not going to have the opportunity to turn left.
Okay, and that's what I think Ruben and I are mostly concerned about is this footprint could create more problems than it solves.
But we can solve those problems at a future workshop.
Let me ask this question. So, I mean, we need to get the contract started because they got to dig up stuff. And there's going to be stuff dug up for 4 months, at least on this first section. We can have the workshop during that time, somewhere in that time, and address this traffic control issue, right, Scott? I mean, that'd be easy.
Called the change order,
I
right?
think we should have already addressed it.
I don't think there's well, if we change the paint design on
Right.
the lanes, I guess that would be a change. Well, it's going to be, once complete, it's going to be, if we approve this, it's going to be painted this way.
But we can change it.
Could.
In the
It's
next,
just paint.
we can change it before it's final. 'Cause we'd have
That's what I was going to
months.
say, because they're going to be digging it up for a long time.
Okay,
I think we need to get it going.
agreed.
Still think four-leaf clover is an excellent idea.
Roundabout?
Yep, roundabout, there we go. Yeah.
Emily, I agree with your point. I think, yes, we need to look at traffic control measures at this intersection at a future time. I'm in favor of the design that they have laid out. I think it provides for through traffic to continue west. It does provide some concerns with traffic coming out of the school. I think that's the added concern that Ruben brought up at the last meeting. But
And to your point, the way it is now, there is a line of cars that literally backs up onto Dietz. And then people on Dietz are backed up trying to turn right. And so having that through lane should eliminate that.
You mean route fair?
Yeah.
Okay. In review, we're good with D and D.
Good
We're
with
good
D&D?
with option A, which is what is depicted on the screen now. And then we'll come back at a later time to discuss traffic control measures. Is that?
You're the mayor.
All right, then can I get a motion to approve a resolution authorizing the city manager to execute an agreement with D&D Contractors Incorporated for the Dietz Elkhorn Road reconstruction and waterline replacement project in amount not to exceed $4,787,038.15, including contingency, and to execute all associated documents.
So moved.
Second.
Jonathan and Scott. And I apologize, is there anybody here that had any questions or any comments that they would like to add? Yeah, Chris?
Chris Depke, Vice Chair of the TSAC. You all just did our job. You're doing what we're supposed to do. But I like what your decision is, but I'd like to suggest that you go ahead and as part of this process, ask for a professional traffic study being done. It could also investigate other steps other than officer directing traffic or actual signals. The Hawk system is a possibility. Let them investigate it. You're $1.2 million under budget, so you got some money to play with. That's all. Thanks.
Anybody else?
Was there not a traffic control study done when it was redone the last few years? And was there just a discussion of four-way stop?
It was
It
considered.
was part of the study, yes.
I'd like to point out again that we did the electronic bidding for this one. We got a new bidder, so I'm excited to see what kind of bidders.
Was there anybody else here that had any comments that they would like to make? From council, any further discussion items that y'all would like? Motion on the table, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thanks, Grant.
Thank you, Mayor. I did put up some next steps on the screen. So staff will move forward with awarding the construction contract as designed. We plan to schedule the pre-con meeting for sometime in mid-July. Also host an open house toward the end of July with our consultant, with our selected contractor to share project information and also to answer some questions. We'll see some advertisement about the open house coming up soon. Construction is expected to start in the August timeframe and complete a year later with final acceptance in September of 2027.
Can we let Bernie ISD know?
We definitely will let them know, yes.
Hey, Grant, are we going to contact all the households on these detour routes to let them know what's coming? Are we going to make an effort to
We'll definitely
communicate
send out
directly?
mailers to all of the residents that actually live on Dietz Elkhorn. We'll use regroup and other means to contact those that are along the detour routes as well.
Yeah, I think it's really important we make sure everybody gets some kind of communication, maybe a couple times before their street becomes a throughway, so that they aren't, waking up and finding a lot of traffic that they weren't prepared for.
Yes, sir.
And also for the folks that live on the detour routes.
That's what I was talking about, the detour route.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I thought you meant on Dietz.
No, just, I'm concerned more about the detour routes.
Me too.
Those
I live
people.
on it now. So
Make sure you contact Emily and let her know.
I'll go knock on some doors.
Anybody else? think we've asked all the questions.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Council.
Thanks, Grant. With that, we'll move on to our second consideration item tonight, which is the consideration and possible action approving a resolution requesting assistance from the Texas Water Development Board for funding associated with the elevated storage tank project and designating an authorized representative. And Grant, you're gonna do this one too?
Yes, Mayor. This next agenda item is in regards to the city's application for the Texas Water Development Board Water Supply and Infrastructure Grant. For reference, this agenda item starts on page 44, and I believe there's a revised presentation on the dais for you as well. So this grant program was made possible by the appropriation of a little over $1 billion by the Texas 89th Legislature. The program is administered by the Texas Water Development Board, and it provides a one-time opportunity for a limited number of Texas communities. These grants are available to retail and wholesale water suppliers. Funding requests for cities of our size can be up to $10 million, and staff seeks your support to submit an application for the elevated storage tank project. Now note that grant funds can be only used for the project and cannot be used to reimburse previously issued debt. So on the screen here is the application scoring methodology. It's pretty short. The primary factor considered is the city's average medium household income in relation to the average household medium income for the state of Texas. Our city's AMHI is fairly high, which means in this factor that we may not score very well. The only other factor other than AMHI considered is whether the project is deemed ready to proceed. In our case, our elevated storage tank project is still in the design phase and is not expected to be completed until the fall. Now, in reviewing the grant program guidelines in regards to the elevated storage tank project, staff has identified several strengths and weaknesses with our application. Under strengths, the elevated storage tank project is an eligible water infrastructure project. It's consistent with the city's capital improvement plan, and it supports our long-term system reliability. Under challenges, again, our high AMHI significantly reduces our scoring potential as the grant program prioritizes economically disadvantaged communities. And because of this, the program is expected to be highly competitive. So staff's assessment is that while the city's AMHI may reduce the competitiveness, the potential funding benefit warrants the submission of an application anyway. When it comes to fiscal impacts and next steps, applications are due by the end of July. Successful applicants will be notified in the fall, and then funding will be made available between the winter of this year and May 1st of next year. Projects must be completed and fully expensed by August 31st, 2031. There is no fiscal impact from the approval of this resolution or submission of an application. And if approved, staff will return to City Council with the award terms and draft agreement with the Texas Water Development Board. Staff will also evaluate the impacts to the utility financing plan and provide recommendations regarding future use of already issued debt, specifically how we may shift debt to other approved CIP projects to maximize the use of grant funding. And with that, that ends my presentation unless the council has any questions.
I have a question for Summer. Summer, have we already issued our debt for the elevated water storage? Has that been issued yet?
Some of it has, excuse me, not in entirety. We have an issuance this year and then another, I think, 3 or 4 million next year. So if we happen to be awarded the full 10 million, we wouldn't need to issue the last one next year, but some for the elevated storage tank is being issued this year. So we would have to shift some. That's if we got awarded the full 10 million. If we were awarded a smaller amount, we would just have to see how much we wouldn't need to issue next year, and if we had any overage from what we had already issued for the elevated storage tank.
So what would happen if they did grant the whole thing so we didn't have to issue our debt? And we have existing debt outstanding because we partially issued some of the debt. What happens to that debt? Do we redirect it elsewhere, or do we just retire it early? What would happen?
The debt that we would have already issued for the elevated storage tank, we would have to spend it on another utility project.
So it's not just tied to the elevated storage tank, correct?
That's right. The certificates of obligation that we issue for the utility can be used on any utility infrastructure project.
Is the selection process, are there like interviews, or is it strictly on what's submitted?
I believe it's strictly on what's submitted. And applications are limited to one per city, so I have a sense that almost all cities are going to at least submit a project.
This grant submittal, is it just the numbers and they rank all the numbers, or is there like a
There's a pretty lengthy application. I believe it's 22 pages, but staff is working on completing that application. And part of the application is the requirement for a resolution from the city council in support of the application and in support of the project. So that's why we're here tonight.
spot in there for us to mention?
There is not.
You know, overall, I see it's a win. If we don't submit, it's guaranteed we won't get it. So the option is, and there is no negative impact to submitting, so I think what Grant is asking us now is pass a resolution so that they can submit the grant. $10 billion, I think was the total.
1 billion is available.
1 billion?
Correct.
1 billion is available? No. Go for it. Ask for everything.
Any other questions from council? Any questions from anyone here tonight? And from council, can I get a motion to approve a resolution authorizing the submission of an application to the Texas Water Development Board Water Supply and Infrastructure Grant Program and designating an authorized representative?
So moved.
Keith, and a second from Dale. Any other discussion from council? Motion on the table, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? The motion is approved. Appreciate it, Grant. And thanks for pursuing this as an opportunity for us to submit the grant.
Brent?
I think there was a slight difference on two of the slides. One of them had, I think maybe slide 2 had a header that mentioned that the HB, the House bill, that appropriated the funds. And then potentially, it may have been the last slide, the fiscal impacts and next steps, I think had a couple extra bullet points to it that were added for clarity.
With that, we'll move on to our workshop item tonight, which is the continuation of the budget workshops for fiscal year 26-27. And tonight, we're looking at the utility funds and the capital improvement program. And Summer, you're going to kick this off?
Yes, good evening, Mayor and Councils. I'm Summer Fleming, Director of Finance. So yes, tonight's workshop focuses on the preliminary fiscal year 26-27 utility fund budget and the citywide capital improvement program. This workshop concludes the presentation of all the preliminary fiscal year 26-27 operating budgets and capital plans. So staff will use any feedback received this evening, along with updated information received throughout the summer, to prepare the proposed budget for formal filing on August 17. But I will begin with an overview of the utility fund budget, including rates and fees and the overall financial performance. Following the overview, Grant will review the operating budget highlights and the capital improvement program in greater detail. But this item begins on page 54 of the agenda packet, and the presentation is on page 111. So we'll look at the key highlights of the utility budget first. Overall, utility revenues remain relatively flat compared to the current year budget. They're decreasing by about 1%. That decrease is attributable to the discontinuation of a commercial water contract. There are no proposed changes to the volumetric water or wastewater rates. However, the budget does include updates to utility fees that are recalculated annually. Those are the debt service fees and the surface water fee. From a financial sustainability standpoint, the budget continues to maintain reserve levels in accordance with city policy and also preserves funding for future equipment replacement needs. But turning to expenditures on the right, the budget reflects the same citywide compensation adjustments included in the general fund budget, along with nominal inflationary pressures. Total operating expenditures are increasing 3%, and that includes a 3% increase in GBRA water supply costs. The budget also includes several strategic investments, including one-time utility leak detection services and infrastructure management tools that will help us better manage and maintain the utility system. But before discussing the proposed fee adjustments, I just wanted to spend a moment explaining how the city's water bill is structured. The city's last comprehensive water rate adjustment occurred in November 2017, and no change to the volumetric water rates are being proposed in this preliminary budget. Instead, the proposed adjustments are limited to the fees that are reviewed and recalculated each year based on actual costs, such as the water supply cost, debt obligations, regulatory requirements, and capital funding needs. So this slide illustrates the different components that make up a customer's water bill. The water base charge includes the meter and service availability charge, along with the surface water fee. That surface water fee is separately identified to recover some costs of purchasing surface water from GBRA. The regulatory fee recovers the state's TCEQ assessment. The usage charge is the volumetric tiered rate based on the amount of water a customer uses. And finally, the infrastructure fees consist of that debt service fee and capital reserve fee, which support long-term investment in the utility system. So looking at the bill this way shows that not every component serves the same purpose. Some of the charges support our daily operations, while others are dedicated to specific purposes, specific costs that ensure the utility system remains financially sustainable and can continue investing in infrastructure. And the next slide summarizes the proposed changes to each of these fees for next year. The most significant change is within the water debt service fee, which increases approximately $5.80 per month. As discussed during previous debt presentations, this fee is recalculated annually based on the utility's projected annual debt service payment and the number of utility connections on July 1st. The increase this year primarily reflects the expanded water capital improvement program that includes 2 additional capital projects and the increased cost of the elevated storage tank project. At the same time, the surface water fee is projected to decrease by about 69 cents per month, and the water capital reserve fee is reduced to 0 for fiscal year 26-27 because the planned water capital projects are being financed through the utility's debt program rather than current year cash funding. So together, these changes result in a net increase of approximately $2.44 per month in total water fees, or less than $30 annually. And the wastewater fee is increasing approximately 94 cents per month, or about $11 annually, and that's due to the recalculation of the wastewater debt service fee. So this slide summarizes the utility's operating performance and why it's important to look beyond the bottom line. The first point I'd highlight is that not all operating revenue shown here is available to fund the day-to-day operations. Approximately $1.9 million consists of restricted revenues, such as the debt service fee and impact fees, which are legally restricted and dedicated to specific purposes. So after removing those restricted revenues, approximately $6.1 million is available to support operations, compared with our operating expenses of approximately $6.3 million. So as a result, the utility is projected to report a negative operating income before depreciation of approximately $185,000. Now, this presentation excludes budgeted $450,000 in projected investment earnings. Investment earnings are reported separately from operating revenues because they're not generated through the utility's core operations. They do provide additional financial flexibility, but they depend on market interest rates and daily cash balances, and they shouldn't be relied upon as a long-term funding source for utility operations. But after considering those investment earnings, the utility would be projected to generate positive income before depreciation. Now, operating income after depreciation remains negative, and that is expected because depreciation is that non-cash accounting expense that recognizes the historical cost of the utility's infrastructure over its useful life. And new infrastructure is primarily financed through our long-term debt. So overall, the utility fund still remains financially sustainable and is projected to maintain healthy reserves and a positive net position. Now, the city's 5-year financial plan recognizes that our operating costs continue to increase while volumetric rates have remained unchanged since 2017. So to maintain that long-term rate sufficiency and to continue funding utility operations, the financial plan anticipates a future volumetric water rate adjustment beginning in fiscal year 27-28, so not in this next year. But taking a closer look at the expenditures, total operating costs are projected to increase about 3% compared with the current year budget. As with the general fund, the largest increase is in personnel costs and reflects that proposed citywide compensation adjustment. Supplies, maintenance, and operating expenditures are decreasing about 2.5%. That's primarily due to the completion of a one-time wastewater manhole rehabilitation work that was included in the current year budget. And then services are increasing about 22%. That is primarily due to the addition of the safety coordinator allocation, increased investment management services, and the one-time strategic investment in the satellite leak detection services. So Grant will discuss that initiative in more detail later in the presentation. And then capital purchases are decreasing about 44% compared to this current year, but they continue to include equipment that supports utility operations, and Grant will also review those purchases later this evening.
I have a
Yes.
question. On slide 4 and 5, and I'm not a finance guy, so this may be a dumb question, but if expenses are projected to exceed revenue, why wouldn't we make other alterations to the fee schedule?
So alterations to these fees or to the overall charges that we charge customers?
I guess anything that we would do to not be projected to have expenses exceed revenue.
So this year, we did not. Looking at our 5-year financial plan and our, what do we call it, a rate calculator tool, since we're projected to bring in $450,000 of investment income, that is covering the shortage this year. Long-term, it shouldn't be considered in funding your daily operations because it is dependent on, your cash balances and interest rates. So when we've put in the rate calculator and looking over the 5-year horizon, we do believe there should be a rate increase. It can be pushed back to the next year. Drought surcharges right now also are currently helping to maintain operations. Those also can help push back rate increases. I know in our 5-year financial plan, we did become a little more conservative in that, assuming the drought ends and we're not receiving that extra revenue. So that's another reason why we are projecting to increase the volumetric rate in the following year.
Thank you.
Hey, Summer,
Yes.
while we're on finance, what's the big uptick in depreciation this year? Why we have such a large hit?
Most of it is the completion of several of the infrastructure projects as water lines are completed, as any of the water plants, I don't even remember the water CIP, but as projects are completed and put into service, then we start actually depreciating them for their useful life.
I can't remember, I don't remember the 5-year plan right off the top of my head, but is that going to become like the normal run rate, the $1.2 million? Is that going to be more in line versus the 800,000 to 900,000 going forward?
It will be more in
Okay.
line with that. As we have the larger infrastructure projects,
Okay.
yes.
So that's going to be the more normal. So to
Yes.
Ruben's point, I think we really need to take a look at the rates at some point, because we do not want to run a deficit long-term, right? Yeah.
That's true. Now, in our operating expenses, when we look at in the 5-year financial plan, we do already fund depreciation costs for vehicles and equipment through our equipment replacement fund. So our rates are currently funding vehicles and equipment replacement.
Okay.
Now, we're not recouping in our operating revenues costs of building new infrastructure, like a new water plant or doing major renovations to that, because those, we typically do take out debt to fund that. And that doesn't flow through our normal water rates.
Right.
That comes in through that debt service fee that's only charged to make the debt payment in any given year.
Okay. Yeah, because I know like some of these things, when they roll off, when the depreciation rolls off, it's not like we'd be putting take that tank out and putting a new tank. I understand, these are the bigger, like buildings, I get
Yeah.
that, but okay.
But a lot of the depreciation for the vehicles and equipment, we are able to fund that each year through our rates currently.
Just transfer that in through the transfers, okay.
Yes.
Anyway, just want to stay on top of that for sure. I don't like, to run deficits, big deficits, and I also don't want to have big surpluses, so.
This was the first year that we were able to complete and have a rate calculation tool. So this was the first year we were able to use that and incorporate it into the utilities 5-year financial plan. So I would expect that each year as we refine that and get new information that we will be able to stay on top of that.
Of course, we'll monitor it as you report out throughout the year. We'll see how actual results.
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
So the valves that we're expected to lose whenever we start testing them all with our new valve exercising program, where are those captured in? I heard it was like we added 5% to just.
I'm sorry, I didn't
Probably
follow
help me
your
out here,
question.
Scott. It's what you and I were talking about.
That's not in the budget yet, but when Grant goes to a position for us to talk about the valve replacement program, we expected loss or replacement from that. Eventually, we simply do have to replace valves that we put from the supply plate.
Okay, so we recapped the overall revenues and expenditures. So this final slide summarizes the utility fund's projected financial position at the end of the fiscal year. So with this budget, the utility fund is projected to maintain an overall net position of approximately $21.3 million. Again, the budget preserves the emergency reserve, an equipment replacement fund, and a debt service reserve while continuing to invest in the utilities infrastructure. You'll notice that the water and wastewater capital fund balances are declining during the year. That's expected because those resources are being used to complete utility capital projects in the CIP. So as those projects are completed, the cash is converted into the actual infrastructure assets, and that's why your net investment in capital assets category increases. But overall, this preliminary budget maintains the utility's financial stability while continuing to invest in all the infrastructure needed to serve the community. And that concludes the budget overview. If there are any other questions, or if there aren't any, I'll turn it over to Grant to review the operating budget in detail.
Any other questions? Any questions from anyone here tonight? Thanks, Tommy.
Good evening, Grant Watson. I'll be Public Works Director, and I'll be presenting the preliminary utility budget for fiscal year 2026-27. So although as part of the same enterprise fund, we do budget for and track expenses for water and wastewater separately. Looking at the pie chart to the left, the preliminary budget for the water utility is $4.4 million. Similar to past years, the biggest component is GBRA water reservation fees, which makes up 42% of the budget. This is because over 60% of the water that we deliver to our customers is purchased from GBRA. That's followed by personnel at 26%, maintenance and operations at 23%, and services at 9%. Now looking at the pie chart to the right, the preliminary budget for the wastewater utility is $1.87 million. The biggest component there is personnel at 61%, maintenance and operations at 33%, and services at 6%. This chart shows a comparison between the preliminary budget and the current year adopted budget. There are slight increases in personnel costs, the GBRA water reservation fees, and services, but that's offset by decreases in maintenance and operations, resulting in a total overall increase of about 4.1%. Now here's a few highlights from the water budget. First, the GBRA water supply costs are increasing by 3% next year. This is a smaller increase compared to previous years. The budget continues rental of the shower and restroom trailer. It also continues funding for year 3 of the tank inspection, maintenance, and cleaning program. It includes funds for our safety coordinator to provide citywide safety and compliance support. And it also includes funds to purchase a valve exercising machine to implement our structured valve exercising program in accordance with Strategic Plan Objective 3.1.2. The last highlight is a new initiative to reduce our non-revenue water and preserve our precious water resources. Based on our most recent water loss audit, which was from calendar year 2025, the system is losing about 56 million gallons a year. This was calculated as a difference between the water that we produce and the water that we purchase and the water that is consumed. And based on our current rates, the cost of that water loss is about $250,000 a year. So the utility is requesting $63,000 for satellite leak detection and asset management services. This is a one-time cost that will be shared between the water and wastewater utility. Satellite leak detection technology is capable of identifying underground water and wastewater leaks up to 10 feet deep. This is the same technology used to search for underground water on Mars and other planets, and is now commercially available through several companies here. This will provide 2 annual system-wide scans to proactively monitor our infrastructure, and also provides 40 hours of on-site investigation and verification. The results will allow staff to focus efforts on likely leak locations which are currently unreported or have not yet surfaced. And this effort will also help to reduce, again, our non-revenue water and preserve our natural resources, to improve our GIS mapping of water and wastewater infrastructure, and asset management data collection, including condition ratings for each of the pipe segments. All of this data will help support the long-term planning, capital planning, and infrastructure replacement decisions as we go forward.
Grant, how much water did you say we lose in a year?
About 56 million gallons per year.
That's 250,000? That's consistent year over year, roughly?
Roughly.
Is this service, what's the ongoing annual cost after year 1?
The annual ongoing cost is optional. This is a one-time cost to do the 2 scans per year plus the on-site investigation. You can fund a yearly cost if you wanted to, but right now we're planning just a one-time cost to get the scans done.
We'll do it once, get a baseline to see where the leaks are.
Fix those, and then we may
Fix
not
them.
need a yearly cost.
Come back
right?
later, maybe do another one sometime in the future.
Yes.
But it's not an ongoing monitoring cost of this.
If we wanted to pursue an ongoing monitoring cost, we can pay for that, but right
Would it
now
be
we're
the-
looking for
Would
just
it
a
be
one-time.
that same cost each year? or close to?
It'd be in addition to the 63,000.
No, I understand, but annually, what would it be if you did it every year?
I don't know, I'd have to
Okay.
check with the vendors out there.
But like you say, we do it one time, fix all the leaks, a couple years from now, do it again.
If we're gonna do questions on that, I'm curious as to how it works. I'm gathering that it's like a ground penetrating radar or something, that they water coming out or see flow rates?
So I don't know the details, but we're certainly going to research what technology these various companies use. A lot of their the penetration detecting technology they use is also paired with AI. There's a lot of different algorithms that are run to identify these potential leak locations.
Anybody who's using this, did it come recommended to us, or?
That's something we can definitely check. This technology has been available commercially for at least over 10 years, so I'm sure there's quite a few clients, especially utilities, that can verify the success of this.
Give me what you do know about it.
One of the primary companies out there is called Astera. We had a demonstration by Astera. They provided data that showed how much some of these other utilities that have contracted with them have saved. This is something that really piqued our interest and something that we are interested in pursuing.
Can they just, I'm really hesitant to this kind of stuff. I've seen a lot of people selling like snake oil. Kind of seems like it to me, but I get that the science is there to some extent. I mean, can they like say, all right, you got a leak over here on Dietz, and then us go check just to make sure that they really know what they're talking about before we fully commit, or? Is there a way that they could like sample it or something?
So satellite time is very expensive. I don't know if they would do it for free.
Or reduce cost just for, I don't know. Utilities just absolutely know 100% they're gonna hit all the leaks and we're gonna be off to the races.
I think it be a big improvement over what we're currently doing. We have leak detecting microphones that we walk around and try to follow the lines.
No?
Yeah.
I mean, you're going to check out other utilities who have used this service, obviously, right?
Yes.
And you'll verify that it actually works and was successful or not. I'm assuming that's just going to be like you would do
New
that.
Braunfels is one
Yeah.
city that's used this company specifically, so.
Okay. I think it's a good idea to budget something for it, because I think we do need to, our water issues, we need to preserve.
If we add the 63 into the budget and we end up, you go talk to them, or we call New Braunfels, and New Braunfels is like, yeah, we spent the money and came up with nothing, wish we hadn't have spent that money, then we still have 63 in the budget that we can go spend on leak detection and other means, right? Whether it's flow meters or something, or.
Correct.
Well, this would, all we're doing is budgeting the money now. At 63,000, this would have to come back to us to approve the contract to move forward with it. Is that?
Technically, we would have that authority, but we could bring it back if the council chose.
Oh, we did increase it, didn't we?
Yeah, okay. I'm okay with it as long as it comes back to us and we understand what it is.
So Jonathan, you want this one to come back to council before they go forward, even though it's within their authority?
I would like to learn more about this before spending 60. Problem, I'm sorry, but I just.
No, that's fine.
All right, moving on, this chart shows a comparison between the wastewater preliminary budget and the current year adopted budget. The slight increase in personnel costs and services is offset by a decrease in maintenance operations, and the resulting overall increase for wastewater is just 0.4%. Here's a few highlights from the wastewater budget. The first is a reduction in the cost for manhole rehabilitation from 100,000 to 25,000. So instead of testing, repairing, and inspecting all of our manholes every 5 years as required by TCEQ. The plan is to inspect and repair about 25% of the manholes each year, thus the reduction in the budget. The budget also continues rental of the shower and restroom trailer. It includes funds for the safety coordinator. And lastly, it includes funds to add internet access to the wastewater treatment plant so that we can get access to email, phone communications, daily reporting, and access to the network resources. Moving on to capital equipment requests. So the water and wastewater utility is requesting to purchase 2 replacement trailers for our mobile generators. Normally, these generators are deployed to lift stations in advance of storm events or whenever we have a power outage, and the current trailers are undersized for the weight of the generators. These are 8,000-pound plus generators, and they're sitting on 2 3,500-pound axles, so that's overloaded. Secondly, we're also requesting funds to purchase an electronic message board. Again, one is included in the general fund budget, and one is included here as part of the utility budget. We're requesting $10,000 to install gates and fences that are crossing our utility easements, and this is to make sure that we have access to our water mains in case we need to fix a break. This would be year 1 of a 3-year effort. We are also requesting funds for replacement well pumps. On average, we need to pull and replace about 3 well pumps a year. The cost is approximately $150,000, but this is only as needed. If some of the well pumps don't fail, then this fund will remain with the utility. We are requesting $12,000 for a replacement wastewater pump for the Falls Lift Station. We have 2 pumps in service at the lift station, and we also have 1 additional pump that's in repair right now. But all 3 pumps have been rebuilt multiple times, and the request is to replace one of those pumps due to its age and condition. And then lastly, we're requesting $13,000 to purchase the valve exercising machine, and that would be used to implement the valve exercising program in accordance with our strategic plan objective.
Can you give an example of where an easement gate would go?
Steve knows. Yeah.
Good evening, Stephen Freed, Assistant Director of Public Works. So we have several locations along Ralph Fair Road where the water mains run at the back of the properties. So these are sections where those gates would go.
Nothing there now.
Currently, it's just fenced off, right?
Okay. So it's just an access problem, and the gate would give you better access?
It would allow access, yes, without tearing down or removing the fence.
So these would be gates on private property on an easement?
Correct, within the easement.
Thank you.
All right. Lastly, the utility is requesting to add 1 utility technician position to the organization. The last time the utility last time a utility position was added was 3 years ago, and since then our current workload has grown significantly. We now have over 3,300 water connections and over 2,000 wastewater connections maintained by 11 staff, and this includes our supervisors. The number of leak repairs continue to trend upward with a projected 5% increase this year. Meter replacement rate is also increasing as the meters approach their end of their 15-year service life. Last year, staff replaced 180 meters. This year, we're on track to replace 250 meters. And next year, I'm expecting we'll need to replace over 300 meters. The required overtime for emergency response is also increasing due to aging infrastructure. Last year, staff expended 688 hours of overtime. This year, we're on track to expend over 1,000 hours of overtime, and that is expected to continue to increase. In addition to our current workload, we also have some strategic objectives and known growth, both on the public and private side, that are expected to start next year. This includes the valve exercising program. This valve This program is important because it helps to ensure that our valves work whenever we need to isolate a leak, and it minimizes the number of our customers impacted when we have to do repairs. Staff would also like to start non-Edwards Aquifer recharge zone inspection program. Right now, TCEQ requires inspection of all sewer mains and manholes within the Edwards Aquifer recharge zone. And this has been highly successful in preventing sanitary sewer overflows in that area. What staff would like to do is to expand this same program to the non-Edwards Aquifer recharge zone areas. There's also known growth coming and starting next year between Post Oak, Oak Bend Estates, and the Sovereign. Staff is expecting over 500 new connections over the next 5 to 7 years. And lastly, additional capacity for emergency response and preventive maintenance is needed for our new infrastructure, specifically the new ground storage tank that's going to be coming online at Plant 5 in the fall, the new water main that's going to be installed under East Elkhorn Road, and eventually our elevated storage tank to the north side of our city. So on the dais, you'll find a detailed utility operation workload analysis and staff recommendation. There are some sections that I'd like to highlight for you. This analysis describes how the city's investment in new infrastructure, continued residential growth, enhanced asset management, and expanded regulatory and preventive maintenance programs will require approximately 2.3 full-time employees. While the long-term analysis supports the need for 2 additional utility technician positions, staff believes these responsibilities will be phased over the next 2 fiscal years and does not recommend filling both positions immediately. Accordingly, staff recommends adding 1 utility technician to this upcoming year's budget and addressing the most immediate operational and regulatory demands first. That would be followed by an evaluation of the need for a 2nd utility technician in the following budget cycle. Again, staff welcomes the opportunity to discuss the analysis in greater detail and to provide any additional information that may assist council in this decision.
Hey, Grant, what is the Sovereign?
That's the name of the development that's going on at the Corley Track.
Oh, Corley Track,
They
okay.
recently selected the name The Sovereign at Fair Oaks
Okay.
Ranch.
On the new elevated storage tank, you've got him .77 there for daily inspection. Doesn't that, I mean, it's coming with like all the SCADA, right?
It will.
What does his workload look like when he's trying to inspecting that the SCADA's telling him right, or?
So it's a lot like operating a new plant, and I guess I'll turn it over to Steve. Steve helped put a lot of this together.
So we kind of comb through the details, but there is a little more than just viewing this data and looking at the numbers. So it's required to put eyes on site on the site every day, look for damages or leaks. It's important to have an operator there to hear for unusual noises, kind of address problems before they get worse. So listening to pumps, listening to the valves, checking for leaks like I mentioned. Aside from that, there's chlorine maintenance. There's going to be chlorine feed at this facility. That needs to be checked on the daily and monitored. You kind of have your typical maintenance, sweeping, grass cutting, mowing. I think that pretty much captures it. I mean.
So we hire, you're saying that you're gonna need 2.3. You're asking for 1 now. You're gonna put him to work straight off the bat, exercising the valves, assuming we get him hired pretty quick, or her. Assuming we get him hired pretty quick. And then if it looks like, you know, we may not need the full 2.3, we can put that same person with the elevated storage tank, or are they gonna be 2 different categories?
I think what we were trying to build for is some of the growth that we see oncoming right now and immediate needs. And then as this facility's built out, then hire for that position at that time, the second year.
Just looking at it like it's an oil field, right? And for me, it was always cheaper to have a roustabout crew to come in with someone like the day-to-day maintenance, rather than hire another full-time employee or tie up my employees and have to do other things. So the question is, I would like to study that as well as part of this. The question is, can that person that we hire to exercise the valves, they could operate everything at the new storage tank? Or are there different qualifications required for them? I'm assuming they're gonna have to have something for them to go out and actually work our valves, right?
Right, we would want it to be a licensed operator eventually, but also hiring this position frees up a licensed operator to check those facilities and stuff. A technician would mainly be doing kind of the groundskeeping and the other easier tasks with a license not required, so.
And they don't have to have a license to operate the valves?
No, but it should be done under the operated, or a licensed operator's guidance.
As in, just get them fully trained, and then you just go off on your workday and operate on the valve?
Basically, working under their direction, so either physically watching or given specific directions on what to do.
Like a journeyman or something?
Correct.
Okay, I understand. I'm okay with it.
What's the budget amount for this position that you're expecting?
All in is 64,905. That includes not only the salary, workers' comp, insurance, uniforms, fuel, training, and all of those items.
Grant, we covered so this is for the utility fund, water and wastewater. Summer laid out the future of the increase for this year. Does that increase include the items that you're putting, capital equipment and this FTE?
This FTE position is unfunded, but it does include the capital items.
Everything's included in the budget except for this.
FTE. Do we know the impact of adding the FTE to the water and wastewater? Or we'll cover that later at another budget meeting?
Wasn't that the 65,000 you were just talking about?
For next year would be 65,000, but that would be an ongoing cost in addition to compensation changes each year.
Yeah, I guess what I was asking, the impact on the water rate. You may not know it right now, but,
That FTE has not been included in the five-year financial plan or the rate calculator.
okay.
Sounds like at least a decent portion of it, though, could be offset because there's not going to be as much need. Or is that not the right assumption?
Well, when a main breaks, the crew still has to mobilize and get out there. This might help reduce the number of times they have to get out there, but the hours are still the hours needed to repair.
So the overtime, the 1,000 hours that you're projecting wouldn't change by adding this person?
Yeah, it might be spread out among a larger number of personnel instead of actually being reduced, right?
I guess my point, I'd like to see what the impact on the water rate is, water and wastewater rate. We may not have that tonight, but it'll come back for final approval at one of our future. I guess right now, I mean, we're asking for an FTE, so I guess you're asking us to say yes, correct? If we say yes, then we're going to include it as part of the budget. Right now, I don't know what the impact of that is going to have on the water and wastewater rate. And I'd like to know that. Is that?
Yep.
Right. Does that make sense? Am I?
So you would want us to put this new FTE into our five-year financial plan to see if it increases our projected rate increase in
Or even for
27,
this
28
year.
even more?
Yeah, even for this year.
it wouldn't, adding this FTE this year, I still would not recommend increasing the volumetric rates this year.
Okay. So the rates that you showed is what we'll stay with, even with the addition of the FTE?
Yes. The only thing we're increasing this year are those fees that are recalculated each year based on the debt service payment and the number of connections we have, and the surface water fee. Funding for FTEs comes from our volumetric rates, which I would not change this year.
Okay.
But they are projected to increase in 27, 28. I'm not sure how much one FTE is going to affect the total over a 5-year horizon, but we can put that added cost into the 5-year financial plan for the utility.
Okay. Thanks, Summer. I didn't mean to spring it on you or put you in.
That's okay.
All right.
I have one more question. So assuming that we spend the 60,000 on whatever and find a bunch of leaks, where is the manpower to fix the leaks coming from? Already, I mean, do we have bandwidth to just go out there and, okay, you know, we got 50 million gallons. Assuming it's gonna be a whole lot of small leaks and not just, you know, blow it out
I
into
suspect there'll be small leaks as well too. So that may be something that we can schedule so that we're not overwhelming the crews.
I think Grant has made a good position for justification of the addition of the FTE. I've seen the water and wastewater crews out consistently. We do have lots of breaks, but I don't know that it's an impact on overtime.
I'm all for it.
But with the addition of some infrastructure, I mean, plant number 5 will be online here, I don't know, probably in a month, maybe 2 months. I think Grant's made the justification for the inclusion of it, so.
City's growing. I think it's.
All right,
I would like to add something. This analysis is well done. I mean, you went through in a very thoughtful approach to what you're doing now, what you need, very well broken down, so I'd say this is a good approach for helping us. Rather than just saying, yeah, we got a lot of work.
okay.
Thank you, Mayor. I do have a few slides on the capital improvement program. So starting with our water CIP, many of the projects in the 5-year capital improvement plan are either completed or underway. Focusing on FY 2026 and 27, there's $4.8 million budgeted for the second increment of construction for the elevated storage tank. And there's also $400,000 budgeted for the upgrade of the ground storage tank at Plant 4. Plant 4 is located just south of the city limits on Old Fredericksburg Road. And the existing fiberglass tank there is about 22,500 gallons, and it's over 40 years old. So this project will install a larger tank to take advantage of some of the better producing pumps in that area so that our pumps, we have a larger capacity storage and that the pumps are not cycling on and off all the time. On the wastewater side, focusing on FY 26-27, $811,000 is being budgeted for the install sewer line and decommission Falls Lift Station project. Staff is currently in negotiation with the consultant on the fee for that project and plan to start design in the next month or two. But this is budgeting for construction next year. Under our roadway CIP in fiscal year 26-27, $315,000 is being budgeted for the second increment of design for the Rolling Acres Trail reconstruction project. And then lastly, under our drainage CIP for fiscal year 26-27, a total of $523,000 is being budgeted for 2 projects on Triple Crown. They're identified as CIP project number 41 This will include channel improvements and replacement of an undersized culvert near Damascus Drive. And CIP project number 43. This will install needed drainage infrastructure where there is no channel and no culvert to catch and convey storm water before it enters private property. All right, that concludes my presentation unless the council has any questions.
Grant, the completed in-house is a new on these presentations. I like that, completed in-house, relatively new.
That's correct. Some of our drainage CIP projects are within the capabilities of our in-house maintenance team, and they've been trying to take on some of these projects as they can.
Anybody else? Anybody here tonight have any questions? Good rundown. Thanks, Grant.
Thank you, Council.
And we have one more item on the agenda tonight, which is taking a look at the appointment for our boards, committees, and commissions going into the next fiscal year.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Amanda Valdez, Deputy City Secretary. This evening, I'd like to provide an update on the city's annual boards, committees, and commissions appointment process for fiscal year 26-27. As part of our annual appointment cycle, staff has begun recruiting applicants and coordinating with current members whose terms are set to expire on September 30th. Tonight's presentation is intended to provide an overview of where we are in the process, share current application activity, and review the timeline leading up to appointments in September. So as of today, there are opportunities for appointment on 6 of the city's appointed bodies. The Building Codes Board of Appeals has 3 potential vacancies consisting of 2 regular member positions and 1 alternate position. 1 incumbent has declined reappointment, and we have received 0 new applications from residents interested in serving on this board. The Capital Improvements Advisory Committee has 3 potential vacancies. 1 incumbent has requested reappointment, and we have received 0 new applications from residents interested in serving. The Municipal Development District Board of Directors has 3 potential vacancies, and you all have a handout, but it's changed even since we printed that, and all 3 incumbents have requested reappointment. We've received 0 new applications from residents interested in serving. The Planning and Zoning Commission has 4 potential vacancies. 1 incumbent has requested reappointment, and the city has received 1 new application for the P&Z Commission. The Transportation Safety Advisory Committee has 4 potential vacancies. 1 incumbent has requested reappointment. 1 incumbent has declined reappointment, and we have received 0 new applications from residents. And finally, the Zoning Board of Adjustment has 4 potential vacancies consisting of 3 regular members and 1 alternate position. 1 incumbent has requested reappointment and 1 has declined, and we have received 0 new applications. Staff continues to promote these opportunities through the city's website, social media platforms, and other outreach efforts, and we expect additional applications as we approach the application deadline. They don't usually come in until a couple weeks right before the deadline. So looking ahead, the remaining appointment process follows the city's established annual schedule. Applications will continue to be accepted through July 30th. At the August 6th City Council meeting, Council will consider reappointing eligible incumbents and determine the method for filling any remaining vacancies. If interviews are needed, staff has reserved September 3rd and September 17th, allowing new members to participate in orientation during the week of September 21st through September 25th, before terms officially begin on October 1st. Staff will continue to monitor applications throughout the recruitment period and will provide council with updated information as the process moves forward. We are working with communications now that the beautification committee application period has ended. We will ramp up the committee application period sort of outreach on our social media and on our website.
that is all I have tonight. I'm happy to answer any questions that you all may have on this process.
Questions? We've started. Okay,
All right, thank you.
thanks, Amanda.
Thank you.
Does any council member have any announcements that they would like to make? Go ahead.
The 5K is tomorrow morning. There's going to be traffic detours. I'm sure you'll mention it. But it starts at 7:30 at the church, Cibolo Church. So just be aware, there's going to be a lot of people in the area. It's on the trail, so people running in the street, but there'll be a lot of traffic and detours.
I'm not tracking any detours, though.
Part of Keeneland was going to be,
Yeah, I'm not, I was told everything's on the trail.
well, the race is on the trail. Is that part of Keeneland? No? Am I wrong? Okay. Yes? No?
Yes.
Back. Okay.
I believe there's 3 start times with it, 7:30.
It's 7:30. Runners will start at the front of the pack. And then the people walking the 5K will be right after that. And then there's a family fun run walk 1 miler. And I think that one's scheduled to start at 9.
Okay,
Fun, there's almost 200 people registered, so.
all right. Thanks, Emily.
Hasn't been one in a long time, too.
We're hoping to do it again next year, so.
Anybody else? Other announcements? I have 2 quick ones. City Hall will be closed tomorrow in honor of the 4th of July. And 4th of July activities, co-sponsored between the City of Fair Oaks Ranch and the Fair Oaks Ranch Country Club, will take place on Saturday at the Country Club. The gates will open at 6 p.m. Come join us. And anticipate fireworks kicking off somewhere around 9 o'clock. And the vendor says he's got a great ending for us, finale. Red, white, and blue, I believe, is the theme for the finale, so it ought to be a good time. Right now, I believe the club took reservations in. Oh, shoot, so expect a large crowd. Scott, anything else?
Nothing further.
Does any council member have anything that they would like added to a future agenda?
Yes.
Stop signs at,
Traffic, something to control the traffic during school time.
you're requesting it to come to council.
I'm
correct?
requesting it to come to council.
All right, it's on the list. Anybody else? Amanda, anything that we've forgotten, missed? Scott, anything from your?
No, sir.
I have the time now is 8:28 and we are adjourned.